understand that from June all the way up until this morning, my life has been a very interesting cauldron of just craziness. Things that have thrown me off center. Everything from now having a complete life change that requires that I help my mom dress and tie her shoes and keep her. Everything from my sister being in ICU last week. And during the time where I wanted to really work on this presentation, and where I really wanted to come up with the funniest of the funny videos, and where I really wanted to think through all of my jokes so I could be just as funny as C.J. Harris. During the time where I was supposed to be doing all of that, I was in the hospital, sitting next to my sister, arguing with doctors who were trying to release her too early, having debates with family members about the best well-being of my mom, walking with my mom who moves at this pace, meaning that it took extra for us planning. I got to plan 30 minutes before we go somewhere. Complete upheaval. Working now that I've moved from Shelby County Schools in Brownsville, now working an hour away and getting calls about, hey, we need you to come right now, and having to drive now an hour and 10 minutes back to get to the point where I'm taking care of things. I'm not telling you these things because I'm looking for some type of pity. I'm telling you these things because life doesn't really stop life. But as educators, one thing that we forget is that our students are also experiencing all of the types of things that we are experiencing. And there used to be the type of culture and environment where they had some degree of protection and they weren't privy to all of the grittiness of life. But those days are completely gone. So you are walking now into buildings, into classrooms, into situations where students are in trauma. They are in desperate need of your assistance. And the problem I have, and the reason I said this is going to be a courageous conversation today, the problem that I have with all of this, point that way, is that we act brand new. Now, I might break a few verbs today. I'm not going to continuously be poised. Today is not the poised day. Today is the let's talk about it, let's be real about it day. All right? I've shown some of these videos before, and I struggled. I told Mr. Hart, I said, Mr. Hart, I said, man, they've seen this video, and they've seen this. And I said, at some point, it's your conference. And it shows you much. All right, so, but here we are. Here is why I'm revisiting some things. The problem that I have with education today is we, as a student, say act real brand new. We come in here and act like we're lost about the condition of our students, or like we're confused. I'm going to go through some data, and you tell me if we're confused. This is 2020 data. It says Tennessee has had the highest rate of foster care instability in the nation every year from 2016 to 2020. Puerto Rico was second to us. That means that these are students who have had 3 or more placements with foster care or DCS, things like that. This is Tennessee, since I know that most of us in here are from Tennessee, right? Children and teens with anxiety or depression. I compared us to Texas, which has 31,290,831 as a population. And I compared Tennessee to Texas, which is way larger, only to see that our data is just as concerning. And in many instances, based off of what's reported, we're leading in the area of students with anxiety. You can look at all of this data on the kids count. You can Google kids count for Tennessee, and you'll get all of these disaggregated data opportunities that the Casey Foundation comes up, they help with. And so you've got access to all of this information. But I'm showing you because we act brand new. And I want you to be a little uncomfortable today, to be honest with you, because something needs to change. So when you look at that data was showing you drugs, right, as compared to Texas. And I'm not going to try to go deep into all these slides. School shootings from 1970 to 2004, everything was, we had less than 50 school shootings. Now we have school shootings so often that we're not even as perturbed about them as we used to be. They're not even as alarming as they used to be. It's routine, unfortunately, now. You're not shocked anymore when you hear about a school shooting. That should be concerning to us, right? Children in Tennessee report higher levels of adversity, ACEs. How many of you are familiar with the term ACEs? What does it stand for? Adverse childhood experiences, right? So we've got students that are, and I jokingly say, we got students biting other students and teachers and doing everything that you can imagine. I heard Chuck Cagle say with the Tennessee Department of Education that we got students climbing up the teacher's back and coming down the teacher's front. And that's true. But again, why are we acting like we don't know that already? It's not a secret. It's not something that we just found out about 2 years ago. So if we already know that in Tennessee where we serve, 41% of our students have had 3 or more adverse childhood experiences, meaning they've got real trauma, not fake trauma, not, I didn't get the bike I wanted. We're talking about students from drug abuse, from molestation, from placement change, from mental illness. We're talking about real trauma. And we know about it. And we know about the school shootings. We know about the surface behavior being on the front, the behavior that you see on the surface. We know that there's a deeper root to that, a deeper cause, right? We know about this. We're not unaware. So what I want to say is, if we are not unaware, and I'm gonna get this PowerPoint right at some point. You would think I could manage 2 buttons. Okay. All right. What I want to do right now, we're gonna talk about this video. I've shown it before in some presentations, and I wrestled on showing it again. But I decided that it's useful based off of what I'm trying to say about us as educators. So we're going to watch this video again, and we're going to talk about it. Can you push play for me, Pastor, on that computer? We're going to have a conversation about this. So what did you just witness? Let's talk about it. We're going to have a conversation about this. What did you just witness? And is it relevant to education? What's your interpretation of the video? Anybody else want to jump on that?
Perception.
Perception? Expound.
Well, you see a problem when there really isn't one there. And because you just use your mostly but because you're not seeing it that way, you're looking at it, you perceive a problem that you can't work your way through when you really can.
Anybody else?
It seems as if they realized they were stuck in their problem, like the young lady said, and they didn't have the knowledge to do beyond what they were currently facing, so they just decided to stay in that moment.
Let's pivot from that. They didn't have the knowledge, did they? Did they not have the knowledge? Because I would assume that they've seen escalators before. And I would assume that they've seen what else before? Stairs. So did they actually have the knowledge? And that's the question I have for you. Did they have the knowledge? All right? Because we going somewhere with this.
To piggyback what he was saying about perception, they were waiting on someone else to deal with because they felt like it was their problem.
And what happened when the help came? Same. Stuck on the escalator too.
I was just gonna say, sometimes when life happens and you got other stuff going on, you just get halted in the moment and you can't think through or move to move. You have no other choice but to stay frozen. Just stuck. I can't even think beyond what I'm in right now.
I think that's a place where we go, but you said we have no other choice. You keeping that at that moment.
When I said that in that moment, we just can't think clearly. We can't see past what's in front of us. We hear us and we already was dealing with X, Y, Z before. Now something else, I just can't.
Okay.
I think they just gave up.
Okay.
I mean, they just gave up. I mean, instead of trying to solve the problem, they just gave up. It wasn't like they
Threw it out.
any kind of serious excuse at all to try to say, "Hey, we push through."
It's a reason why I showed the video, but I'm gonna come back to it.
Learn helplessness.
Learn helplessness. You write books and stuff, ain't you? So I like that. Learn helplessness.
I think I look at it from the perspective of a student, is that they were at that point, they were met with an issue and a challenge, and they don't have the tools or the resources, and they're screaming out for help, and it's falling on us as educators as deaf ears, and that we're not supporting in those moments.
Okay.
I felt like when I looked at it, the guy has on the suit, the lady has on her business attire. Kind of felt like they acted like it was beneath them. Like that, this is not. I can't possibly walk up this escalator. That's beneath me. I have somewhere. I'm important. I can't do that. Somebody else needs to fix it for me.
Why would I show you this? And we're here talking about the field of education. How is this relevant to teaching and principling and all that other stuff? How is this relevant to them?
Well, I think because the answer might be very simple to us, but to a child, it's just going to be as debilitating as those adults trying to take those steps. But to us, it's easy. But we have to understand that, like you said earlier, we have a lot of history. We've gone through a lot of different things. We have a reference point to where we know how to make it through certain things. But children may be just as confused as those adults by something that we think is very, very, very easy to solve.
I think you guys have hit this video every way that it can be hit with different perspectives that are all right. They're all correct. So the perspective that I had when I showed it, because all your perspectives are right. I like what you just said about looking at it from the children angle. I like what you said about looking at it from the children's angle. All of that is correct. Everything you said. Everything you said about being frozen. I was frozen. Even I'm gonna read to you the text that Mr. Tony Hawkins sent me while I was spazzing out about this conference. So, Ms. Green, you said you can't see past, and I can't remember what I was spazzing out about, but ain't nothing that I tried to do for the last 4 weeks worked. Let's just be clear. All right, nothing. Print the agenda this morning, having the things in the looks like nothing has worked that I tried to do. So I was spazzing out, and Mr. Hawkins said, hold on. Don't let yourself convince yourself the universe is against you. Everything is fine. Everything will be fine. Now that's what your best friends can do. They can just tell you, sit down somewhere, shut up. Right? And say to you, you're doing the most. But here's the problem, and this is the reason I showed this video on education. I showed this video because I feel like we in the field of education act around here, we act like we didn't even know. Like we act like we didn't sit in interviews and tell the people who were interviewing us that we were going to save the world one child at a time. We act like we never said that, and we all said it. But when we get to the school and the child is a little dustier than we expected, or a little rougher than we expected, and he cussing, and he done stomped my toe, and then he bit me on the ankle if he's a kindergarten, because the kindergartens are off the chain, okay? When we get to the school, then we have amnesia all of a sudden, and we get stuck on the escalator. We are the self-proclaimed help. So, yeah, the student is going to get stuck on the escalator. The student is not going to understand and make a connection because they don't have the background information that they need to have. But we have it. We come in with a full toolbox, and we get on the escalator, and we're going to help some students today, and we get on the escalator, we go up 3 steps, and then we get stuck, and we sit down. That is where this country is right now with our students. We are stuck on the escalator. We are looking at students who have issues, acting like we didn't know they had issues 50 years ago. Let me show you something that bothers me. If you think about the poverty, the ethnicity, I just went through all of the data. You can ask Siri whatever you want to. If you take your phone right now and ask Siri to pull up educational dissertations, if you ask Siri to do that, because I did, she pulled up educational dissertations with hyperlinks, and it was 1 million of them. And they were all saying the same thing. Everybody's dissertation said something about to improve the effects of this student on grammar, on behavior, on mental health. We have written 950 million gazillion dissertations. We got 80 million teachers worldwide. 2018 data said we had 4 million teachers in the U.S. We got 206,000 of those in the public charter. We got 509 in private schools. We got teachers everywhere, falling out the wazoo. So why is it that we still confused about students when we've written dissertations, done research, got data? We got everything we need. We're not confused about what students need. We have to make the mental jump from determining that we are going to stand here because they could have decided on that escalator, I'm going to move up. But here's the problem with moving up and having progress. You have to make a mental command go from your brain to your leg, and then you have to put effort. What did I just say? You have to put effort and strain into lifting and going up the step. And that is not as nearly as easy as standing still and being pushed up the steps. So you then make a conscious decision, I'm doing that. That is where we are in education. My challenge and the courageous conversation that I want us to have today is you need to accept the fact, and I want to see the letters drop down, I can see them drop down. You need to accept the fact that cognitive dissonance is real and that it affects all of us. Cognitive dissonance is the psychological discomfort that you experience when holding 2 or more contradictory beliefs, values, or attitudes. It's when your behavior conflicts with your beliefs. This is where we are in the educational system. We got people who are serving in roles as educators who said, I want to save some children and I'm here to protect and save some children, but then sometimes they're like, I don't even like these kids. I can't stand these kids. We are torn. And there is a reason why they're saying that, because we got a different breed of children, and then for those of you who are seasoned, or who are not seasoned but truly passionate about education, you are in the midst of people who might have just worked at the car wash last week. And now they just a teacher because that was available and that was open. They ain't not calling, I'm just in here. And this kid cussing at me, they on their way back to the car wash, they don't know what it is, but they are. Alright, because the work ain't easy. But we have got to mentally accept the fact that this is going on. You are in a world and in a country where nobody is willing to truthfully say what needs to be said about children. Nobody's lost. You know a child needs mental health supports. The country just don't pay for that. We're not confused on whether or not we need it. We're not confused on whether or not suspensions hurt children, but it's quicker. When you're in school and it's 900 of them, we're not confused. We know what suspensions do to children. My whole dissertation, our school suspension on the positive, it was on suspensions, okay? And a million others were. We're not confused. We are torn. And with cognitive dissonance, what you do is, how you deal with it is the person will either change the behavior, so the person stops the behavior that conflicts with their beliefs. For example, you smoke, you quit smoking. All right? For education, if you are a principal who was, like I was when I first started, I was a little trigger happy, I suspended everybody, I faced stuff like this, you know, you either change that or you don't. So the person either alters their beliefs to align with their behavior, or they start downplaying the importance of the information. How does that translate to students? That's when you start working at a school in South Memphis or a school in North Memphis, and you start saying things like, these kids, that's because out here where I am. And instead of pushing them to a degree of excellence, you start getting comfortable saying they can't do it because they too poor, they too black out here, there's too many Hispanics, they don't speak English. You start convincing yourself. And this is where we are in the field of education nationally, all right? Or you just do something, what I think is completely crazy, which is why I highlighted it. You just say, forget them old beliefs. I'm going to create some new beliefs. And you start adding new beliefs to rationalize and justify the inconsistent behavior, making the contradiction seem less significant. For example, a smoker might think, I exercise a lot, so it cancels out the harm of smoking. We can do this all day with political stuff. We can do this all day with political stuff. And I could avoid it, but it's not a conference. I ain't gotta avoid it. You experience dissonance, you experience cognitive dissonance probably if you are a minority who voted for white supremacists. Yep, I said it, my conference. You experience cognitive dissonance when you are challenged to have to make a decision, or better yet, you experience it when you don't condition yourself to be ready for it. I guess what I'm trying to explain is, if you see individuals who look like you, and it gives negative connotation, you're wrestling with everything I'm talking about now. How does that translate into your educational work, though? All right? So, and some people just actively avoid the information. We ain't got no problem. We ain't gonna speak on these kids and what they're doing and what I need to do for them. All right? So, my question to you and my challenge to you as you get with the other presenters, and I'm off schedule, I'm sorry, but as you get with the other presenters, my challenge to you is, what do you believe about students? Who is the mission? Who is the charge? Who is the purpose? What is your mission? Right? What is your charge? What is your purpose? Because these are the questions that you need to leave here, they need to be fully answered when you leave here today. Where is your focus? where is your effort and what are your results is the last one I put up. Because it kind of at some point doesn't matter what you're saying, believe. If the results are the same, we need to do something different. I can look at this tablecloth and say this is polka dot and red all day long, and I can convince myself of that. But if everybody else come in here and see a black tablecloth, maybe I need to make some adjustments. So when we think about our kids, these are the types of things that I want you to think about, and I want you, as you go through the remainder of this conference today, ask yourself, do your students align with your beliefs? You say, I love these kids, I do anything for these kids, I'm there for these kids. Do your students, is that what they say? Because if there is a disconnect between what they say and what you believe, again, something might be missing. So my challenge to educators is to really stop acting brand new. I'm gonna come back later at the end and show you my daughter's video so that I can at least not go all the way over my time. But I'm going to show you a video that makes the difference between responses and supports that she animated. She's a little business person, and so we need to put in a video. She'll draw that for you. But with that being said, I really want you guys to think on. On the things that we just talked about. I'm sorry, I'm going in the wrong direction again. I really need to put the slip down because spirit is too advanced for me. All right. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and move out of the way. Our next presenter is Miss Dala Young, and I'm going to go back here and make sure I get her stuff pulled up. We did have a few glitches because I told y'all nothing has worked right. I gave an online PowerPoint for everybody to drop their stuff in. Didn't work for anybody, but that's okay. I'm gonna go back here. We're gonna be very informal today. I want us to have conversations. I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna pull up Ms. Young's